Welcome to AJ Plus Real Talk. It's Friday. A lot of big news stories are happening around the world. Let's get started. I'm Damu Bobb.
I'm Francesca.
I'm Tarek.
And I'm Dena.
We cover a lot of news stories here this week, but the big story that's happening around the world that everybody's talking about is the shooting of the 9 black people in the church in Charleston, South Carolina. Dena, you just got back from South Carolina. You were on the ground. What do you know? What did you see?
I mean, I saw a lot. It was really, really powerful to be there in that moment of time. I arrived on Saturday night. I was able to get into the church on Sunday, Mother Emanuel Church, right when it opened its doors for the first time. And it was a powerful experience. I mean, the emotions were so raw. There were tears all around, but there was also a lot of perseverance, a lot of gratitude for the unity that this tragedy brought about. I mean, there were people coming from all over the countries. They continued till we left to leave flowers outside, to pray for Charleston. I didn't sense a lot of anger from the people I spoke to, especially the people who were directly connected to the victims. It seemed like it was their faith in a lot of ways that are helping them to move forward, and they would say things like, God is pushing us through, God is guiding us, and if anything, came from this tragedy, it's that these 9 people brought all of these people together. And I know that a lot of people weren't able to go back just yet, just because of how heavy and how tragic it was, that some people couldn't make it out there. Some people had to leave because they were crying so much, but overall it was very moving.
Okay, cool. And then what did you do after that?
So after that, I mean, one of the things that we were really interested in is talking about racism, as the whole entire country is. So me, along with my colleagues, did a bit of a road trip around South Carolina, and we wanted to ask folks, is the South more racist? Because we here in California and,
Was this your first time in South Carolina?
It was my first time in South Carolina. Okay. So we started from Charleston, we drove all the way up to Columbia, where the Capitol is, where the Confederate flag is still flying.
Did you see it flying?
I saw it. I was on ground zero of the debates, man, and I did hear some racist stuff there. And I could talk to you guys a little bit more about that.
What sort of racist
Well, so we had arrived right after there was a big demonstration against the Confederate flag, and those people had mostly left, those protesters. What remained was a handful or so of people who were out there defending it. And they articulated their position. I mean, a lot of people we spoke to who are defenders of the Confederate flag phrase it in terms of, this is our heritage, this is our history, our grandfathers died fighting for that flag. But when the conversations extended beyond that, that's when the racism showed. So one dude, for example, was like, they have the flag here, are they gonna take down the African American monument over there? Are they, because that's just for the Negroes. And if they're gonna take this flag down, then they gotta take that down. Another guy straight up told me, you know what's racist? The fact that they have black churches and black schools. I said, well, that's because of segregation. He was like, yeah, and everyone got along great during that time. So to see that those attitudes and those opinions actually exist, I don't know how many people they represent, but the fact that they were able to tell me, a brown woman, to my face with no qualms. When
I think of South Carolina, I mean, a lot of my friends who are from the South, they could say, you could taste the racism, you could feel it in the air. I mean, you went to a shop too, is what I saw another piece you put out there, where you went and saw all the different memorabilia. Tell me about that.
That was crazy. We went to a Confederate flag store that sells all sorts of merchandise, from bikinis to purses to sheets to whatever.
Bikini?
This is about Confederate flag bikini. Anything you could dream of that you want to own, they have in Confederate flag form. I will say there was a lot of paranoia in that store. Only one guy would talk to us. We were asked to leave. In fact, we were asked to leave, not even filming. We weren't even allowed to film on that strip mall. Every shop owner, from the tattoo place to the body piercing place to the check and cash place, came out and said, do not film here. We don't want this attention. We don't want controversy. We don't want these problems.
This is insane.
So,
The question I want to ask is this: if you see the Confederate flag and I put up the Nazi swastika flag next to it, what would be your reaction? You know what I mean? It's the same reaction. I don't understand why the Civil War ended 150 years ago, and we're still flying this flag. I don't get it.
What I will tell you, Damu, is we talked to people on both sides, those against the flag who call it a symbol of hate and and racism, and those who support it, and both brought up that example of the swastika. And the people who were against the Confederate flag said that, look, it's just like the swastika, and those in support of it say flags get abused and misused, and their meanings get misinterpreted, and just like the swastika. So
crazy.
Really.
Swastika is just misinterpreted.
It's just misinterpreted. It's a big misinterpretation. All right, Francesca, you did a piece on white supremacy, and what I found really interesting about your piece, you incorporated the CCC, and obviously that group has been, donating a lot of funds to current GOP presidential candidates, and I find that really just strange and scary at the same time.
For sure.
Tell me about that.
Right, so we asked this question whether or not white supremacy is fringe in the United States, or whether actually it has some political momentum. And so this is some concrete moneyed ties between a white supremacist organization, the Council of Conservative Citizens, which isn't the most out there, but as like former Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall called them, the Uptown Klan, they have sort of a more polished white supremacy. And Dylan Roof was actually inspired by them and some of their thinking around segregation. They really believe in segregation. They also talk a lot about black on white crime. They talk about, sort of the raping of our women and these things that Dylan himself spewed before he opened fire. And it turns out that the CCC has donated to GOP candidates, not in this current race, but in previous years. I mean, they've been around since desegregation.
Right.
And so you got Mike Huckabee, Santorum, Rand Paul, Mitt Romney, just the whole gamut. And those campaigns are now sort of backtracking, like, let's give it back, even if it was, like a couple $1,000s.
Still, it's too much. Yeah, personally, I think.
Anything.
You can't be associated with it. I mean, if I'm running for anything and if I'm associated with like the Nation of Islam or the Black Panthers, you'd be like, really? So I
your
think
political career would be dead.
Done. And
your political career would be dead. And this is what we were talking about: is that how much does this sort of white supremacist speech and just sort of worldview influence our political discourse nationally? And you can see that in some of the Tea Party sloganing and some of the more like right wing of the Republican Party, but increasingly becoming more commonplace.
They take their talking points and they put bigger, better code words over it, and it's kind of what is what's out there. And I don't want to pinpoint a particular news network, but we know who that news network is. And, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
Tarek, the police dash cam video. I saw the police dash cam video. I think of Tamir Rice. I think of Eric Gardner. You had your talk. We talked about it backstage. Talk to me, man.
I mean, it's something that we've seen a lot this year.
Yeah.
It's been in the news repeatedly, dash cam videos, body cams too, and it never really ends well.
Right.
This was the calmest one I think I've ever seen. You
Yeah.
know? This is a person who, there was a police call out, this guy's armed and dangerous, he just shot 9 people in a church, and it's like, he was speeding.
What it shows to me,
Honestly.
what it shows to me when I watch that dash cam, because we were talking about it too as well, and you found it really eerie. I found it actually refreshing. Because to me it says the police are actually excellent at their job.
Yeah.
A man just committed mass murder, is armed and dangerous, and the cops, not that many too, because it wasn't like 50 cops. I mean, if I jaywalk, you'll have 10 cops out here in 5 seconds, I guarantee you.
We've never seen them behave so well.
Pulls him out, gently pulled him to the side, handcuffed him, arrested him, end of story, we got him alive.
He wasn't charged at that point
Exactly,
yet, right?
wasn't
Just like
charged
nobody else is at that point.
But he's armed. I mean, let's just
There's
remember.
a 9mm.
There
Yeah.
was a gun in the car. There was no slamming him
It's
on the hood. There was no
none of that.
like tough risk. It was.
And then you got a girl.
And then they parade him out. First time not wearing any handcuffs and in a bulletproof vest. And it's almost like he's a victim.
Yeah. See, what made my skin boil though, what bothered me so much wasn't that they didn't slam to the car or whatever. I thought of the young girl from McKinney, Texas. I mean, she's in a bikini at a pool party with her high school friends, and she ends up getting body slammed and her police knee in the back of her head.
Unarmed.
And unarmed.
And nobody bought her a Whopper after.
And nobody bought her a Whopper either.
Oh,
So, just the difference between the two.
And we saw that in the comments. That's one of the first things that people reacted to our pieces, and even online. There were tons of memes of comparing the poor girl in McKinney to Dylan Roof. And how do you think she feels when she watches that video of how he was brought in?
I know. My 2 cents in the situation, to get back to you, when I think of Charleston, South Carolina, I'm burned by 2 things. There was an 87-year-old woman that was killed. I just hate to think that she lived 87 years of her life to get murdered in a church. That just bothers me for some reason. Just really, really bothers me. It could be my grandmother. And then number 2, I'm looking at my 5-year-old son, and he says to me, "Dad, are we gonna get killed if we go to church this Sunday?" That's what jacks me up. Like, how do I explain that to him? Like, no, we should not be getting killed at church.
Yeah.
And I think the real issue is racism going to end? Absolutely not. Is it going to get better? We've had 8 years of Obama, and things seem to have gotten worse. And I mean, I'm not too concerned about the whole racism thing. My thing is just the guns. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I'm concerned about guns in churches now, guns in schools. Guns are everywhere, and I think that's what really needs to change. And I think Obama hit the nail on the head. Like, we are an advanced society, And these things don't happen in other advanced societies, these mass killings at this frequency. So I think that's
and yet it was so defeatist. I mean, it was like, well, I know it's not gonna happen, but here's what I'll say it again.
Right.
You know, what the 15th time?
I don't think you can separate the two. I think guns are a huge issue, and I think racism is a big issue. And the combination of the two are beyond lethal.
Absolutely.
So that's what I got.
Which is, are we wrapping it up, or can I just mention some of the biggest stories this week were also, and that we were covering as well, is that that Americans are more likely to be hurt by a white extremist than a Muslim non-white extremist, right? And so that's been, the stats are out there, and yet here we are still talking about ISIS is coming for you, ISIS is coming for you, when in fact, what about some of the racist take
Let's rethink national security.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's John Stewart's point. He was like, we got little death machines flying over 5 different countries, and then here in the States, you go to church.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
that's amazing.
Can't even go to church.
Anyways, all right, what do you have when you rated for next week?
Well, check out our piece, our AJ Plus on the road trip up South Carolina, asking folks, is the South racist? There's some interesting characters.
Is the South racist?
What's the answer to racist?
Some people said no, some people said yes. It seemed like the younger people were more like yes.
Did you have a honk if you're racist sign on your car?
All right, what are you doing?
We have an explainer on tax evasion featuring Buffy the Tax Evader. Me in a blonde wig. It's slightly embarrassing, but I hope our audience will find it more entertaining than embarrassing.
It's a how-to.
Is it a how-to?
It's a how to evade your taxes.
So you gotta put in a blonde wig for the how-to? I don't get that.
Yeah. Oh, you always, you only trust blondes in these situations.
Were you talking about me personally? No. Anyways.
How to evade taxes, be a big multinational corporation.
Exactly.
That's it, right?
Exactly.
That's at the end.
I got my eye on.
Nonprofits.
I got my eye on.
Church. Sorry.
No, sorry. It's all good. I got my eye on the Women's World Cup. Going for USA. We'll see how they do this week and this weekend, and fingers crossed that hopefully the US will bring it in.
Go China.
China in there or?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. We'll see what happens.
It's so conflicting for
USA. What? Okay. All right. Thank you guys. Keep it locked to AJ Plus for more news, videos, and stories. Look us up on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, or download the app. Bye, Periscope. See you guys later.
See you guys.